Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, we have a great panel with Jesse Wadhams and Mike Draper talking politics here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
The trucking industry is the most resilient link in the supply chain, moving 95% of our freight in the Silver State. And while essential, the road isn't always smooth. Supply chain disruptions, rising fuel costs, and unrealistic rules and laws that hamper our ability to serve our customers and country. Our prosperity and every sector of the economy, manufacturing, mining, medicine, and food from farm to table, is tied to trucks. There's nothing without trucking.
A power line is more than a power line. It's maintaining the bottom line for small businesses. It's keeping the assembly line moving for our workforce. For our brightest minds, it's meeting a deadline. It's on the front line with our heroes. And on the sidelines of the biggest games. It's a direct line to our loved ones. And it's a lifeline for the most vulnerable. There's a lot on the line.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're delighted to be joined by Mike Draper. He's a partner with Argentum Partners, and Jesse Wadhams is a partner with Black & Wadhams, attorneys at law. Pleasure to have you both with us.
Thanks, Sam.
Yo, you're welcome, and thank you for helping out, filling in while I was
on assignment.
Yes, going abroad. Let's start out with the special session that's coming up. We don't have a date. Is it all tied to what the federal government is doing, or are there other things in play here?
I think it's all of the above. I think it's certainly tied to the federal government, but I think that there's issues. You know, it's no secret that the film tax bill is something that's being discussed. I think that there's a lot of legislators that have different things that they'd like to see on that special session docket. And so I think that there's likely, you know, a lot of negotiation between the governor and his team and legislators to figure out what's appropriate for that special session agenda, to see if the votes are there for some of the things that they're discussing, and then obviously to see what kinds of issues or dollar amounts are going to be navigating from the federal government. So I think it's still a work in progress.
Well, and isn't that, Jesse, one of the big things, which is you got to have the votes before you call a special session?
That is exactly it. I think this is, in anticipation of this question, I went back and looked, and I have done now 13 special sessions.
Wow.
And I was like, man, this, you know, we generally know we're going to have it. We know roughly when it will be, but we don't really know why it will be. And so that's sort of so lining up the votes, I have probably heard every rumor about why we're doing it. And there's, as near as I can tell, at least 64 different reasons why we're doing a special session. So lining up the votes will be the most key part. And I think whatever's happening still isn't quite soup yet, as Peter says.
Robin Titus, the minority leader in the state Senate, was on the program the other day, still not comfortable with the movie tax.
I think that's a prevailing sentiment with a lot of people in rural and certainly northern Nevada is still learning about it. And, you know, I think that Senator Titus, for example, has been pretty clear that she's uncomfortable with that and other sort of tax incentive type arrangements. I do think we have to look at anything when we're looking at tourism being down, especially in Las Vegas. We have to look at anything we can to incentivize development. Now, that doesn't mean that everything is a right thing, but certainly I think it's worthwhile that this opportunity is being scrutinized the way it is. But I think that these are the types of opportunities that are worth taking a look at and being scrutinized.
Okay, so from the perspective of reality with the gaming industry in Las Vegas, when you look at the numbers, when you look at the analysts, when you look at the heads of the corporations, they're all saying, hey, look at last year. It will be really hard to do a comp with last year because it was so incredible with the Super Bowl and everything else. The natural slowdown in the summer, the bookings that we have in advance for the rest of this year, starting with Formula One and then NFR going into CES, the calendar is jammed. Is there really concern in Vegas about the numbers?
I don't know that there's long-term concern. I think that the concern is just that our budget is so reliant on it, right? Our state's budget is so reliant. So,
well, it's reliant on baccarat.
Yeah, right. Yeah, apparently, yes. I still need to learn how to play.
Yeah, for our gambling state, we certainly do a big gamble on baccarat every biennium.
But I think that the fact that our budget is so directly impacted by what's happening with tourism, that even to have a bump or a natural slowdown is something to be concerned about, because our budget fluctuates, and schools and everything else are so dependent on gaming and tourism. And so I think it's not a long-term concern. Vegas is super resilient and very innovative, and I think that will always be the case. But I think that our budget is directly tied every 2 years to those numbers, and I think that it's always got to be something that we're paying attention to.
All right, so let me ask you this, because I haven't heard anybody else talk about this. Maybe they have, but just not in front of me. What about if the tax credits weren't transferable? Would that make a difference?
Well, it's interesting. I don't really have any skin in the game on the film tax.
Then you're the perfect one to talk about it.
Well, it's interesting, right? I think I have always sort of been a pro-economic development sort of person.
Me too.
I think, like, you take the Tesla deal, where it's, you're not getting the sale, you weren't going to get the sales tax, so you may as well abate it anyway, because having something is better than nothing. The transferable tax credits, I think, probably for the film tax, as I understand it, I don't make films, but those transferable film tax credits become a major part of the bottom line of how those movies make money.
Right.
And so my guess is, if you take those out of the equation, the deal doesn't pencil for the production side of film. So to my mind, transferable tax credits have always been a little bit troubling, because you are, in the net, bringing some revenue down for the state. So, hopefully the folks negotiating this deal are making a decent one, because I generally believe that economic development is a good idea, particularly in Nevada. And I would say, absent anything else, if I were having to push the button, I think I like the idea of a film studio in Vegas. So generally I would be supportive of it, but I do think...
Well, I think there's no question there's an opportunity, right? Yeah. So many businesses, every other business is leaving California. Why wouldn't, Hollywood be looking for a new home? And Vegas seems like a natural place for that. It's just, like you just said, finding the right deal.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the governor's race. Interesting that Alexis Hill is now challenging Aaron Ford. What are your thoughts on that? She's spending a lot of time in Las Vegas.
It's interesting. I think we live in a weird time, as we kind of said at the point. The weirdest timeline. And I think, there is some level of folks are craving sort of outsider type politicians. And right now she is running sort of this insurgent campaign against, a respected attorney general. I think this whole, sort of populist anti-economic development, that's going to be an interesting campaign. I don't know if...
Do you think she's anti-economic development,
I
or
think-
just giving away the tax credits is more?
It seems like, at least the stuff I have seen so far, the initial that initial sort of introductory commercial kind of seemed pretty anti-economic development, but maybe it is a little into the tax credits, which are again at that diminution of some state revenue or local revenue. I think it's an interesting perspective. I think she is going to find some base of support in that Democratic primary. Is it enough to sort of carry the day against what I sort of see as the institutional candidate, if you will? I don't know. I think she's going to make some inroads, and she's going to pull Attorney General Ford to the left, I think.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the Lombardo campaign's got to be looking at this and, licking their lips, going, great, because, whatever weakness is will come out not from them, but from the primary.
Well, anytime you have a primary and your opponents have a primary is a good thing politically. So I think the Lombardo campaign is certainly embracing that race, or at least watching that race very closely, that primary race. I think that from the standpoint of the public, though, I think we've seen it. Sam, you and I have had these conversations over the last 2 or 4 years, ballot initiatives, things like that. People are just unhappy with two-party system and, usually having 2 candidates. So I think anytime you have more candidates in a race, that's a good thing. You're putting people through their paces and giving, the public an opportunity to have a little bit more choice in who's representing them.
Okay, but now here's another side of that coin, which is somebody who likes to call me and talk to me about who they're going to vote for was talking about the CD2 race last time around. Said to me, who's the Democratic candidate in this race? I said, there isn't one. There's an independent, and then there is the Republican, Amade in this case. And the person said to me, well, you've always liked Amade. I said, well, I like a lot of people. Well, I'm going to vote for him because I don't see a D in the race. Does that start to play into this?
In terms of have those choices, in terms of I do. I think Mike kind of put a finger on it pretty well. I think having some of these choices, I think there is a lot of angst right now. The 2-party system is, obviously it's the only one we got, but you can see different fractures across all of these areas, right? And there's progressive Democrats, there's more centrist Democrats, there's centrist Republicans, and then sort of the more radical Republicans. And you just kind of pull across all of these, and you're seeing our system doesn't sort of let coalitions form, unfortunately, in the primary. So I do think having those choices is better. I think the whole system is very much set up for the 2-party system. So an independent bid like against Amade was sort of a long shot at best. But I think
even with a ton of money,
the structure is built so that it's the 2 parties that sort of lead the way. You're coming back to that primary in the Democrat Party. Whoever comes out of it is going to be much more tested and a much more seasoned candidate. I think there is some level of that opportunity to play the game and be ready to go into a general.
The other thing is, the money. Attorney General Ford certainly is set up to raise a lot of money. I don't know what Alexis Hill's opportunities are to raise money, but I mean, that's going to make a big deal too.
Oh, I mean, it always makes a big deal, right? But it's going to be more and more, I think, an increasingly big deal as we look forward. And certainly this race is going to be a great example of it. I think you kind of, you hit it when you called Alexis's campaign sort of an insurgent campaign. And so, it'll be interesting to see how she navigates probably not having the financial support that Attorney General Ford has, and how she navigates trying to establish herself in Southern Nevada, which, as I understand and seen, she's working very hard to do. So I think that'll be interesting from the standpoint of, can somebody really mount a race if they're not sort of the chosen candidate for the party and don't maybe have all the financial support that candidate normally would have. So I think there's probably a lot of people watching just to see how close or viable that race really becomes. Again, coming back to the fact that the two-party system and sort of anointing a candidate and then telling everybody this is who you're voting for, we know has become a very unpopular opinion. And our state, the voter registration continues to increase, where now independent and non-major party voters outnumber the two major party voters. So does somebody like that sort of appeal to the independents? It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
So let me throw another fly into the ointment here. So how big a role does the Las Vegas Review-Journal play in this? You saw in the last few days, they did a major piece on how much time Attorney General Aaron Ford has spent out of state going to various conventions and things. One could certainly make a case that this is part of his job to go to these things and learn what's going on in other places and bring it back to Nevada. On the other hand, that certainly wasn't the way that the article appeared. At the same time, they did a piece on Alexis Hill that was not a negative piece, let's just put it like that. So is this a test of the state's largest newspaper, of how much influence it could really have?
You say that, and I think there is some truth to that. And obviously the press, since William Randolph Hearst, has always had a play, right? So I think you will see the largest paper of record in Nevada playing a role. But I think also that a lot of that is, particularly, how folks consume media is so different now. I mean, obviously there is still a role for those big newspapers, but it does look different because you can see clearly there are far more online news sources than ever before. We have more dedicated websites to Nevada news, the Independent, the Current, all of these things play a role, but maybe for lack of a better way of saying it, the power of the incumbency of that original biggest circulation newspaper will play a role, and obviously they're going to have a slant.
You get the last word on that particular angle.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jesse, though, hit it best. There's always going to be a role, and certainly they have a readership and that listens to what they say in their editorials and reads. So I think that there will play a role. I think that role has been diminished as it has for every media outlet over the last decade, but certainly still a role, and they are the largest paper of record in the state. So I think their role will be bigger than other media outlets.
And they have 2 million people a month coming to their website, so it is not insignificant. Let's take a break. We'll come back much more with these two after this time out.
Welcome to Story County, where history meets innovation, and a pioneering spirit continues to shape our future. At the heart of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we power the future with global leaders in technology and manufacturing, driving progress that reaches far beyond our county lines. From advanced manufacturing to tech innovation, our industries are creating thousands of quality careers, fueling a vibrant economy that benefits every Nevadan. But it's more than just growth. Our community is our foundation, supporting families, empowering local initiatives, and creating a place where everyone belongs. Be part of a legacy built on bold ideas and boundless possibilities. Join us in building a brighter future right here in Story County. Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Hit the road in style during the $150,000 Roads to Riches giveaways at Tamarack Casino. Win up to $5,000 every week and a top prize of a 2026 Chevy Traverse or $40,000 in cash. It's the $150,000 Roads to Riches giveaways at Tamarack Casino.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Jesse Wadhams and Mike Draper. Jesse, the lieutenant governor's race got interesting in the last 48 hours.
It absolutely did, I think. And, obviously, having worked with Sandra Jauregui in her role both as majority leader but as a state assemblywoman, I think she's really grown into becoming a good politician and a good legislator. It's an the lieutenant governor's role has always been a little bit of a mystery because we continue as a state to sort of pull its role away from it. Before the Great Recession, it had some level of the economic development. I think the main thing it's got left is tourism. It's a part-time job, but obviously it can be a stepping stone. It is the second most powerful position in the state. So I think having a race there, obviously, Lieutenant Governor Anthony, I think has made a name for himself, kind of trying to put himself into that role and make that office interesting and doing sort of things a little outside of where it is. But I think there's no question Assemblywoman Jauregui is going to make a strong run at that office, and hopefully, we get a good choice.
If you'd have asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said Stavros Anthony has this in the bag because his self-promotion has been amazing over the last couple of years. But that's a strong challenge.
I think it's as strong a challenge as you can get. I think, like Jesse said, Assemblywoman...
Brian Sandoval could have run, but
that's true.
Just kidding.
That's
just
true.
kidding.
Right. Assemblywoman Jauregui has been a very effective politician in the legislature. I think that she's earned herself a lot of respect by how she goes about doing her job in the legislature. I think that Lieutenant Governor Anthony, like you said, has tried to establish and make a name for himself. He's been out and about meeting and trying to learn about different places in Nevada. I think he's been all over the state many, many times. So I think that when push comes to shove, it's going to be a very close race, and not just because of the parties, but because of the personalities involved.
All right, let's take another break. We'll be right back.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
You're in trouble with the law. It's easy to think you'll lose everything, but there is hope. I'm attorney Orrin Johnson. Your first step is to hire a serious attorney with the experience to successfully navigate the legal system for you.
Sometimes hope means addiction treatment instead of jail, and making sure you're treated fairly.
Sometimes hope means fearless trial attorneys will stand up to the government when they get it wrong. Call or text Orrin Johnson Law.
We'll make a plan.
You'll take back your life.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
No tricks, just treats at the Carson Valley Inn during the $100,000 Monster Pirate Treasure giveaways. Thousands in cash and free play giveaways every week. A monstrous $25,000 in guaranteed grand prize giveaways. Don't ghost these giveaways. Halloween awaits at the Carson Valley Inn.
Welcome to the Ahern Boutique Hotel, where luxury and warmth come together in the heart of Las Vegas.
We take pride in offering a one-of-a-kind experience for both locals and tourists.
Join us for handcrafted cocktails and an unforgettable experience. Joel's Chop House, the perfect place to savor views of the Las Vegas Strip.
Satisfy your cravings at the Ahern Chocolate Shop.
No smoking, no resort fees, and the parking is always free. The Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel is your home away from home.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're talking with Mike Draper and Jesse Wadhams. Mike, one of the things that I find really interesting is that, nationally the Republicans, obviously dominate in all three branches of government, really. And yet in Nevada, Democrats have a strong lead, here. How does that play out over the coming cycle?
Well,
and especially when you look at the New York mayor's race.
Yeah, I think that obviously Nevada is a very transient state, more transient than most in the country. And so certainly we have an influx of different political viewpoints that are coming in, and that's of all kinds. I think, though, that Nevada has always, people come to Nevada in part because it's a pioneer state. And maybe it's not as prevalent as it used to be, but it is. We still kind of think the way we think. And so I think that regardless of what's happening nationally, Nevada is still its own political universe. And I think that's going to continue. I think we'll buck trends over the next cycle.
Here we got about 15 seconds.
No, I think Mike hit on it. But I think we are exactly dead even in registration. We are going to have, these races are going to be very interesting because the Republicans seem to have an ascendant brand right now. And right now the Democrats seem to be a little bit on their heels. So it'll be a fascinating race.
Oh, it's save at least. Gentlemen, thank you both very much. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
Meet Nevada Health Link, Nevada's official health insurance marketplace. Your link to savings, selection, free assistance, and name brand health insurance, where 90% of enrollees lower the cost of their monthly premium. Everyone deserves access to quality health coverage, no matter your income or family size. Visit NevadaHealthLink.com. A few minutes could save you hundreds of dollars per month.
Nevada Health Link. Our plans are made for your plans.
Check out our archives section on NevadaNewsmakers.com. Great interviews going back as far as 2002. Really worth watching. We'll see you on the next broadcast.